Okay, so here we go. More leadership advice from the NSA. Letter to the editor, helping your leaders make decisions that stick. Oh, this is actually feedback to an article that they posted called that. Okay, so from someone who shall remain anonymous, I wanted to say I thought the article entitled The Bald Truth, Helping Your Leaders Make Decisions That Stick was a very good article and something that many people seem to need to hear. I think the prevalence of this point solution briefing is the result of, continuing the analogy in the article, the metaphor analogy virus that NSA suffers from. Now, this is very amusing because recently we covered the CanSLO document, and the CanSLO document was the Canadian liaison office to the NSA, and their entire document was a metaphor, and the metaphor they were using was a medical metaphor for healthy patients, and keeping our relationship with the NSA healthy, which basically means complying with whatever the NSA wants them to do and giving the NSA anything they want to be given. But it was very much a classic example of this obsession with metaphors. Now, I love to use metaphors too. I just don't use metaphors to convince people to give me all of their personal data.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
The metaphor analogy virus that NSA suffers from, the virus often causes good ideas to be taken way too literally, and the point they were trying to get across is often overlooked. After all, it makes sense for people to make a point solution briefing when leaders don't want to just hear problems, they want solutions. The agency has a very bad habit of taking analogies, example cases, and metaphors and turning them into the basis for strategy. Just like a point solution briefing can lead to the problem not being solved because of constant reevaluation, many other programs end up being more harmful than useful because the analogy or metaphor or other figure of speech is taken too literally. I will show some examples of specific programs. Take the, looks like there is. Take the DNI, and we're now in, it's been classified secret. Take the Director of National Intelligence Content Presentation Philosophy, for example. Analysts want to see data the way the user saw it. So now we have the concept of native view. While we currently refer to the native presentation of the data, analysts would not be happy with and would not want to use a system that only gave them a choice between displaying what the target saw or the raw data. What analysts want and have been able to get for some data with current presentation systems is something like what the user saw, but with all kinds of SIGINT information and normally hidden data presented as well. Unfortunately, there are still future systems that seem to be building to meet the native view simile instead of the true needs of the analyst. That's quite interesting because, stop share. That's quite interesting because that was one of the earliest documents that we covered, was this concept of them wanting to see what the target saw on their computer as if they were the target. So it's interesting to see that that principle, which was adopted by senior management and did become a part of their strategy for developing their tools, is actually not what the analysts wanted at all.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we'll continue. Then there is a more general idea of how to get analysts DNI data. It seems that examples are provided to decision makers such as, we want to see data like in the CNE portal, or we want to view data as easily as going to a web portal. Here again, the analogy is often talked about as if it is the solution. My hope is that leaders and solution providers have worked to find out why analysts like these interfaces. They are easy ways to traverse metadata or different kinds to get to content that we care about and provide customizable views and single query points and are building to the underlying needs of the analyst. Now, that's very interesting because that's the first example that I've seen of metadata being referred to as a passage to the content.
True, yeah. I don't
So
remember.
rather than metadata and collection and content collection just being separate things, they're actually making a direct reference to metadata leading to identifying content. I'm hearing Snowden in my head saying it's not just metadata. It's not just metadata. At 2014 Moment of Truth event, when he made the revelations about New Zealand spying on New Zealand, that at that time we were getting the it's just metadata lecture from the government.
Yeah.
But this is directly showing us that metadata leads to content.
Good point. Very important point for sure. And that was used in the US as well. I mean, you mentioned the instance about New Zealand, but the same thing was said about the NSA spying on Americans. Oh, they're just identifying the metadata about the call. They're not actually, yeah. So that same argument has been used a lot. But.
Now I've lost my place. Traverse metadata, here we go, to get content that we care about, right? Again, I think this article is great to see from a leader, and certainly something I hope a lot of others, especially those who don't already recognize this as a problem, get a chance to read. Okay, so I think that this actually is significant. I would report on it, and the reason it's significant is because of this.
Definitely.
So it's not just metadata.
Yeah, that's a huge.
And here's the proof.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go ahead and add that to my batch 5 notes.
Definitely.